What is your plan? I understand the lines around the state, whatever that means. This is not a game where you draw maps
and you
around.
Don't know what it
What is your plan?
That's the problem.
What is your plan on health care? You don't have a plan.
The biggest problem he doesn't know. The biggest problem he's got is he doesn't know. You know, I watched him melt down 2 weeks ago with Chris Christie. I got to tell you, the biggest problem he's got is he really doesn't know about the lines. The biggest thing we've got, and the reason we have no competition, is because we have lines around the state, and you have essentially.
We already mentioned that as part of my plan. I know what that is. But what else is part of your plan? So your only thing is to get rid of the lines around the states. What else is part of your health care plan?
CNN reports that 14.5 million people tuned in to watch the GOP debate on Thursday night. It's the last one before Super Tuesday coming up this week, when 13 states and American Samoa will hold primaries and caucuses. Once again, joining us this morning to talk about Campaign 2016, senior writer for Politico, Marc Caputo, and former spokesman for former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, Justin Sayfie. All right, guys, let me start with you, Justin, because your former boss, Jeb Bush, could not come up with an answer for Donald Trump. Right. It seems like everybody else who's still in the race is having a hard time coming up with an answer for Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. What is there one, or is this the nominee? Are we now looking at the Republican nominee for 2016?
Well, look, we have 4 states behind us. Trump came in second place, first place, first place, first place. He's polling well in states like Florida and the Super Tuesday states. Somebody else other than Donald Trump needs to get a win in some of those states coming up, or Donald Trump will be the nominee. So I think Marco Rubio took his best shot last night on Thursday night during that debate, and so I think that's where we're going to have to see whether that strategy has been effective. No one else has been effective with that strategy.
We've even seen Mitt Romney jump in to try to silence Donald Trump or do something to try to knock him off his stride. That hasn't worked either.
Yeah, I'm not sure Mitt Romney is the right messenger for knocking Donald Trump off of his stride. But in the end, the problem that Jeb had, we were talking about this at the break, is Jeb is a very serious person who believes, and even said in his concession speech, policy matters. And newsflash, in this GOP debate, in this GOP primary, policy doesn't matter. It's a vaudeville show. And the guy who's at the head of it, it's a circus, to mix a metaphor, and the ringmaster here is Donald Trump.
He sure is. We heard last week that Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush have spoken since Governor Bush dropped out of the race. Justin, can you tell us a little bit about that? Do you know what the two men discussed, and is there an endorsement on the horizon?
I don't know what the two men discussed, but they've said throughout the campaign they're both friends. They both had respect and admiration for each other. I'm not surprised that they have spoken to each other. People have asked, I'm sure people are going to ask Governor Bush at some point to endorse. I think that's going to be up to him. I'm sure he's just kind of enjoying a few days off the campaign trail right now, and I think he'll make that decision when the time is right. But clearly, the two of them are still consider themselves friends, and I still think they have mutual admiration for each other, for sure.
There was a shot during the CNN debate the other night where they showed former President George H.W. Bush, former First Lady Barbara Bush, up in one of the boxes, and they were there. It was in their hometown of Houston, so they were able to attend easily. I just couldn't help but wonder what they must have been thinking as they watched Donald Trump, to think, oh my goodness, this is now the standard bearer of our party, the party that we've devoted our lives to.
Right. The Bush Brahmins do not recognize this GOP field currently, or the primary electorate. It is not. This is not your father's GOP. So I think that's dawning on the rest of the Republican establishment. And what's going to be interesting to see going forward, if Trump is the nominee, which it likely looks like he is, how much support is he actually going to get? Or at what point do Republicans actually view Donald Trump as a true existential threat to the Republican Party's standards, its dogma, the things it believes in, whether it's less government and health care, which is something that Donald Trump has kind of flirted with. In the end, it looks as if he's not going to get the sort of support that previous nominees are going to get, and that's going to make things a little more favorable for Hillary Clinton. But don't count Donald Trump out either.
Rick, I would just say the power structure of both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are under attack. And the Republican Party is certainly the outsider of Donald Trump taking on the Republican establishment. And the Democratic Party, it's Bernie Sanders. And even though he hasn't had the electoral success that Donald Trump has had, he's had remarkable electoral success given the fact that he's he has the beliefs that he is, that he's called himself a socialist in the past. So that's really remarkable. And you think about Hillary Clinton, her husband was the former president. She's a United States Senator, former Secretary of State for President Obama. It's really remarkable that Bernie Sanders. So I think there's something larger going on here in the American body politic about the power structure of both parties really being under attack.
As a proud, lifelong Republican, establishment Republican, I guess. Is that fair?
Fair enough.
So what do you think moving forward? What is the future of your Republican Party?
Well, I think we're entering a new era. I think some of that also is because of the internet. I think the internet is kind of democratizing power. It's allowing someone like Bernie Sanders to raise more money than Hillary Clinton in the month of January. It's allowing Donald Trump, through his use of Instagram, through his use of Twitter. Marco Rubio earlier last week was reading tweets from Donald Trump. So social media has really changed the nature of campaigns. I think it's a little bit unpredictable. I think we're in a period of transition right now, and I think we're going to start to see more candidate success like Bernie Sanders, like Donald Trump, in the years to come.
Do political journalists play a role here? Are reporters like you who cover this stuff in some way responsible for not pushing Donald Trump more, not vetting him more, not asking the kinds of tough questions about his past that may have prevented him from rising to where he is?
Well, I'll happily fault the national news media for failing to do that, because you know, if you would have seen some of the interviews with Donald Trump, they've been pretty embarrassing. I think at one of them, one of the interviewers was caught on a hot mic situation, basically asking what kind of questions to ask him. What's really interesting, to Justin's point about this race, you saw unfold in South Carolina, where Jeb Bush was being asked from the crowd at one of his town hall meetings, why aren't your poll numbers better? How can you improve your messaging? What's really interesting is that people are paying attention to horse race inside baseball politics, and they care about it. And we used to always think, like, well, people don't really care about this. They care about more serious things, like, say, your Medicaid policy proposals and the like. And people are actually interested in the X's and O's and the blocking and tackling of kind of political journalism and how the horse race unfolds.
Mark, thank you very much. Justin, thank you very much. Let's talk again soon. I think we'll have a lot to talk about in the coming weeks. Absentee voting for the state's presidential preference primary already underway. Hundreds of thousands of Floridians have chosen to vote through the mail, and many of you can go to the polls to start voting, early voting, tomorrow. Early voting begins in the morning in Miami-Dade County and Monroe County. Early voting begins next Saturday in Broward County. And for details on voting hours and locations, go to cbsmiami.com/campaign2016. The Florida primary, once again, is March 15th. It's a closed primary. That means you've got to be a registered Republican or Democrat in order to vote. Still ahead, it's been a heartbreaking week. A 6-year-old killed, caught in the middle of a feud and on social media. And then another 2 teenagers shot. And this was just this week alone. What is going on? Tangela Sears, a mom, an anti-violence advocate well known in South Florida, is our guest when we come right back.